I'm using the embryolisse primer because it's a great primer and moisturizer in one. That means I don't have to use as much product and my makeup will lay better. I'm also putting it under my eyes really well and working it into my nose because those are my drier areas. Next, I'm using the MAC eye primer so that my eyeshadow doesn't crease. And I'm also pressing this very, very lightly into the places that makeup leaves my face first. For under my eyes, I like to double moisturize, so I'm going in again with a watery eye cream, or a gel would work just as fine. Then I'm using some Aqua for my lips. This is the best chapstick ever. I'm taking a little bit of NARS in the light reflecting foundation in the shade Valencia and putting that in this part of my face, and I'm using my hands to smooth it out, going in the direction of my hair growth for like my peach fuzz and things like that. This will make sure all hairs that are there will lay down flat and your makeup will look so much less cakey. Now I'm being really careful in this area because makeup likes to build up there and look cakey, especially around the sides of the nose, so I'm really working it into there. And I'm patting just the tiniest bit on my nose. And now I'm taking just a little more in the places I need more coverage, as well as my neck, because I don't want my neck to look like it's super ghostly compared to my face and body. And then I'm just lightly smoothing everything out. I really like to use my hands for this particular foundation because it's so skin-like, and I think I can make it look so natural just using my fingers. For my forehead, I don't like to add any more product. I just like to really slowly and gently work it in with whatever is left on my hands because my forehead has quite a bit of texture, so it'll really pick up texture when I put more product on there, so I like to use as little as possible. I also go over my brows so there's no like white patches. For concealer, I'm using the e.l.f. Hydrating Concealer, and I like to tilt my head back so I can see where my eye crease lays and avoid that area so I don't have as much concealer in the areas that I crease. I'm contouring the sides of my nose to lift the shadows so I can put in the shadows that I want. I'm also highlighting in between my eyebrows and down all the way down my nose so I can make it look longer and therefore less wide. And I'm also gonna add this on my chin. While I leave my concealer to sit there for a bit and thicken up, I'm gonna blend my foundation in with a beauty blender and then really slowly, trying my best to keep it in place, blend my nose contour and then go outwards towards my eye. And I'm really trying to keep this beauty blender in place so it doesn't move any of my concealer, and I want it to stay where I put it. Then I'm blending in my chin and using what's left over for my forehead because I don't like to apply product directly to my forehead again. Now I'm going to use a defining bronzer. I'm using this contour palette from e.l.f. and taking the darkest shade, and I'm just placing that right above my cheekbones. This is definitely not a natural look, but I love it for going out, so I'm taking a much darker bronzer than I usually would. I'm also going into my hairline with that so it looks a lot more natural, and I'm going around the jaw as well. For contour, I like to go right under my cheekbone in this area here, and then the side of my jaw, as well as under my jaw, and I do this so that I know exactly where to contour, and then right there so it looks sharper, and I stop right before my chin. I also do the sides of my forehead because I don't want my forehead to appear shorter, so I'm not doing the top of it, and then a little bit here on my nose. Now, it's not advisable for everyone to just place their contour on their face like this. Usually you want to take it with a brush, but I actually like to do this because it leaves my contour in the places that I first placed it, and it settles in there a little bit more, which most people don't like, but for me personally is something I prefer. When contouring, you absolutely want to make sure you use a shade that matches your shadows. So if you take a look at the shadows on your face, you want your contour to match that color. I also do a little V on my neck so it looks like my jaw is casting a shadow. And now I'm also blending in the tip of my nose contour. Now with a tiny flat concealer brush, I'm working my way up my nose with the contour and kind of avoiding the place where most people have a little bump on their nose because that'll pick up contour differently than the rest of the nose. It'll make it a lot more prominent there, so I like to do that bit last because I have less product on my brush. And now I'm kind of gently blending it all in using inwards and outwards motions because that'll make it look a lot more diffused. Again, this makeup is for in person, so it's not going to show up perfectly on camera, but if you follow along, it'll look great in person. For the tip of my nose, I'm using a lighter concealer and just placing it on and then blending it out constantly and repeatedly because this will create like a really cool 3D effect for the tip of my nose. This is how artists draw a lot of highlights, so it really works well. And then I'm doing the center of my nose, drawing a little line just there so I can make it look longer. And I like to take it all the way up to in between my brows. Now, because this e.l.f. Camo Concealer is not the hydrating one, it sets a lot quicker, so I like to use it to conceal my dark circles a little bit more. And I'm placing this line exactly right where my dark circles start, so it reduces the contrast. Now I'm taking this gorgeous glow blush by Collection Cosmetics in Blush 1 and placing it just above my cheekbone, kind of right above where my bronzer was. I also take it right under the eyes and onto my nose, so it looks really natural and blended in. Now I'm using the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula and placing it exactly where I placed my cream bronzer, just to kind of set it and also add more dimension because this is a lighter bronzer. This brush is from Morphe. It's a highlighting brush and it creates the most diffused, perfect powder ever. I love it so much for bronzer. Now I'm just blending out any creases that I may have, so under my eyes, on my eyelids, and the sides of my nose. I tried to take out some powder here and look how much came out. My Laura Mercier, it's so precious, I wanted to cry. Anyways, I'm taking just a tiny bit and patting it all into my powder puff so I don't have much product coming out onto my under eyes because that'll make it crease. And then I'm just lightly setting right where the creases come. And then I'm taking some more just onto my eyelid for an eyeshadow base and a little bit around the mouth area because I have to wear a mask, so the powder helps create a barrier between my makeup and the mask. A tiny bit on my forehead just because it gets a little bit oilier or shinier. Now I'm baking the sides of my nose again so that I can cover up the shadows that I already have, so that the shadows I place look more natural and realistic instead of making my nose look wider. And once that's sat for a minute, I like to blend it in with a powder puff. Then I take a little bit of the darkest contour shade in the e.l.f. contour palette, the powder one, and redo my nose contour because it kind of gets washed out with the powder. But I like placing the cream first anyway because it gives me a more precise application. I love using the e.l.f. C eyeshadow brush to blend out my nose contour. It's so nice, soft, and dense. It does the perfect job. For eyes, I'm using the Tarte and Bloom palette and using this dark kind of purpley red shade to do an eyeliner. So from the highest point of my eye to the end of my eye, I'm going to try and draw a very horizontal line so that it looks like it never goes downwards, and that's how I like to build my wing. So I'm taking my eyeshadow and creating that line and filling it in, and then I like to start creating my wing just by winging it out and then bringing it back by flipping the brush around. And I really like to do this slowly. I cut out so much of this because it took me so long, but you really want to take your time to build it up. And then I just do this with my finger to sharpen up the wing. This is how it looks with both eyes done. Okay, I'm brushing down my eyebrows and working my way up to the arch of my brow from the top part, and then for the tail I like to work backwards towards the arch. So you're always working towards the arch, not away from it. Now I'm creating a tail on my shorter eyebrow to match my longer eyebrow. I like to do the shorter one first always. Then just blending it all in with a spoolie before brushing it up. And I like to use my spoolie to move my hairs out of the way while I create a softer arch on the bottom. I like a sharp one on the top and a soft one on the bottom. And the spoolie really helps me get into those hairs. I also like to look downwards to see what's asymmetrical about them and then kind of fix it from there. And now I'm just blending it all in and brushing them in the correct direction. Here's what we're looking like so far. I think it's looking pretty cute. Now I really obnoxiously set my face with the Urban Decay setting spray. This controls the temperature of your face throughout your night, so if you're sweating, it's not going to ruin your makeup because your face is going to remain cool, and it also creates a nice film. Okay, so I wiped off a little bit off my mascara wand, and I'm just putting it on the ends of my lashes, really like working pretty quick and flicking my hand outwards while I do it. This is the lashes. Now I need to pat some of that Aquaphor off my lips so I don't have it sitting there while my lipstick is on. So I'm also putting a little bit of foundation down the sides of my mouth because I like to make it look more pouty, so I don't like to do my double lip line when I'm lining the edges. I'm using a brown pencil to line the bottom of my mouth, so this is the double lip line area, and then creating a little cupid's bow and blending that out so it looks less defined. And then I'm using my inner lip line to draw the sides of my lips so that it looks more pouty, because the insides are like pinched and the outsides are like pushed out. I also like to fill in the sides of my mouth a little bit because that's going to pinch them further. And this is the NYX pencil in brown, I believe. I just kind of blend everything in using my fingers and keep on going in with the pencil again. This side of my lips are less voluminous than the other side, so I make sure to draw them more round, and then the other side I draw them more straight, so it kind of balances them out and makes them look more even. Now I'm taking a lighter brown, and it's more cool tone, so I'm just using that to kind of blend into the one I just did because I want to make a lip that's in between the two colors. And then I'm taking a little bit of concealer and doing the center of my lips. This again adds to the pouty effect, and it also lines up the whole lip. I love this lip. And then I take the same cooler brown, which is a bit lighter, and line my lips again. This is the lips. And I take a little bit of gloss, but I kind of regretted it because I didn't actually want gloss. But anyway, gloss is here. I like using ones with this kind of applicator because it's so easy to do over lipstick without getting the gloss itself mixed in with lipstick. Okay, here's me after I changed my clothes and put on my jewelry, and I'm going for a night out. I really thought it was going to be a good night, but it was so bad, but that's okay. Thank you for watching.